You are very inappropriate.
I like being inappropriate.
BROADScast is entertaining.
Come on, if I can't mess with you, this is not going to be fun.
BROADScast is thought-provoking.
That is a riveting revelation, Ms. Goldman.
BROADScast is unexpected.
Who do you like better, the person that people think you are or the actual you?
Oh, God.
Because they're nothing alike.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads.
We are man-friendly.
I hope to be.
I am man-friendly. I can't say the same about Kim. Wait, that sounded bad.
This is BROADScast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BROADScast.
Hi.
Hey, how about this? A technical issue-free
Is it working?
BROADScast. It is working.
Wow.
How are you?
I'm great.
We're going live to you at 10:12 a.m. Here's the thing, we're not going to have, we lost one of our technical guys, and we were like, that's okay. We're broads. We can do this. You know what? I think a broad is admitting when she needs help.
Listen, as a single mom to a lovely young man, I have tried to prove myself to him over and over again all of the things that I can do on my own. And at some point, I just
can
said,
do it myself.
F it. I don't need to keep proving that I can do it on my own. This would qualify.
Yeah. So I'm done with that whole doing it myself thing. So next week, when you tune in live at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, you'll be like, wow. How
sound amazing.
Smooth. How crazy. All they have to do is focus on being awesome. So, done. Done and doner.
Done and doner.
So, hey, you're making waves.
Why? What I do? Oh, yeah.
You and your tweet or something. All right, so today's episode, first of all, let's kind of give people a big umbrella. It's how not to be a jackass on social media.
Right.
And by teaching, we're here to teach. I mean, we are really here to help you live your life in a productive, in all seriousness. We do like to talk about topics that we can learn a little bit from. Right. And I think that these 4 instances are great examples of what not to be.
Right. An ass hat.
Yes.
Or an ass flap. That's what I used to say.
Okay, that's a very odd visual.
I know. Well, so is ass hat.
Yeah.
I just want to keep saying
That's cute, though.
Anyway. Yeah, so I've not been shy about the fact that I read comments on articles that I see or posts or, shares and tweets or whatever. And I love to see what people's comments are and what their thoughts are about certain things. And I find that people are really awful when they're hiding behind their avatars and they're hiding behind the hashtag.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So, but here's what's going to happen because of our technical issues. Yeah. We're going to get back to your story.
No, I was just going to set it up for our guest that's coming. So
yes. Good.
So there was this woman, and I know she's holding, so I'll be quick, who she shared a picture of her child on Facebook, right?
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were going somewhere totally different about you. Anyway, so just to give everyone a little bit of clarification, we have timings. And so, I thought we were going to be able to talk about your story first before we go to this. But yes, there's a woman, a blogger. I'm going to turn you up, Lisa, who shared a hilarious photo of her daughter. But let's people don't want to hear us. Lisa, are you on the phone?
I am on the phone.
Hello, welcome to BROADScast.
Hello, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the photo you shared of your daughter, and we'll get into the crazy that ensued after that.
Well, it's just kind of funny that crazy happened to ensue because that's actually part of my blog, my shtick, myself. I share images of my kids all the time. I write a parenting blog, and that's kind of part of what I do. And so, as an extension, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, it all is just part of the storytelling that we do with my blog. And this picture was not unlike any other that I had ever shared before. It's of my 3-year-old, 4-year-old, who is potty training still. And we're trying to get her to be more mindful of it. And she is just one of those free-range kids in the clothing aspect who likes to be naked. And hey, that works because that's how we potty train kids. We potty train them naked. And she has just gotten out of the bath. And was air drying for the family to see, just kind of hanging out, and my husband was doing something, and she immediately wanted to get involved. And so, because it was in the kitchen, and she knows Mom wears her apron, she wanted to wear her apron too. And so she put her apron on, stood on a chair, and said, "I'm ready." Just kind of gave her one look and said, "What are you doing?"
So little nudie girl, little nudie girl with an apron.
apron.
Perfect. So you decide, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. So then you shared that photo like you often do on social media.
Yes.
And what
Now
happened?
you got to understand something. The apron itself is meant for young girls, like my 9-year-old who I bought it for. So the thing is really big. I had to tie it around her waist like 8 times. The apron itself kind of wraps around, and so you saw a little butt crack, and you saw the bare back because it is a halter. So you knew she was naked, but otherwise, I'm not thinking it's very revealing.
I see more of that on Kim Kardashian's Instagram.
I know, right? Kim Kardashian herself, like the little black bars, they're not fooling anybody now.
Yeah, right. And so you couldn't see her face. I mean, I think it's important too that you couldn't see her face in the photo.
No, you saw her curls.
And you saw your husband's face reaction to her. Yes.
Yes.
And so what happened on social media? Because you got a lot of people who thought that was the best picture they'd ever seen.
Oh my God! Because who's friends of mine on Facebook, family, people who I've met through the millions of blogging conferences and events that I've gone to in the past almost 10 years of being in this writer space. Everybody, it should not surprise anybody because that's who I am. It's who we are. My kids, they're funny, and that's why I write what I write. But you got a couple who I don't know. I know social media has opened the floodgates for more sharing. All these smartphones with cameras and everything. They've brought a lot of people out of the woodwork, and people are taking more pictures than they ever have. And so I know that there is a lot of concern about pedophilic activity and everything. For me, though, that's not something that I can even entertain. And that was the drama that kind of you're feeding the trolls, and by trolls I meant pedophiles.
Right.
You're giving them, something. They're going to swipe it. Well, isn't that kind of true of any kid that's wearing a bathing suit on a beach? I can't control who's taking a picture where or what. They're right by my side, at a park.
So people were basically judging you or criticizing you for posting that picture and saying that you're feeding pedophiles. And how did you react what did you do? Did you just shut it down? Did you engage in banter? What did you do?
Well, at the time, the first person that responded was a good friend of mine who is also a blogger. She had a few disgusting searches. She still has them to this day of people looking for not so happy pictures of children, like little girls' thongs and the gross things that you would never even think of. But when she looks at her analytics and she looks at her search terms, they're there.
Right.
So as somebody who sees it and is really concerned about it, she forewarned me that maybe this is something that I don't want to have on, social media for others to see. I might want to second guess whether I want to keep it up. She wasn't the first person because the last little tiny nudie butt picture I had posted a couple weeks prior was of the same daughter standing on pretty much the same chair at my sink with a shirt that covered most of her butt except for maybe an inch where you saw that she had no pants on. Doing the dishes, because that's her new favorite thing. She loves the soap, she loves the suds, she loves washing, making a mess, but still, it's helping, Mom.
Right.
But, of course, with no pants on. And I had a different friend, same outlook. Somebody's going to swipe this and, do something horrible with it. And I'm thinking, they could potentially get a picture of my kid at the park, at the beach. And this isn't the first time that this has happened. I actually have had pictures swiped, not the 10 files, but a few years back on my blog, I had a bunch of French women with broken English trying to forewarn me. Some French lady stole pictures of my son and was trying to pass him off as her son in order to make people feel pity because she was looking for money and lying about her so-called poor predicament.
Well,
and I remember at the time, I thought to myself, oh my God, I mean, I'm not even watermarking my photos, and what am I thinking? And like, do I have to watermark my kids' faces and everything? And I thought to myself, nope. You know what? Because I'm not going to let, as I put it, the terrorists win. I'm going to watermark my photos just because it's a smart thing to do. But I don't need to watermark right on their faces. You know, I'm going to do the same thing like I do with my recipes. I'm going to watermark it in a spot that can't be immediately wiped out so people can't take it. Because that's what happened. I was watermarking the bottom corner, and she was cropping my watermark out. And I guess she slipped, and she forgot. And so she got busted.
Wow.
So what do you say to critics or people that say that, you know, you posted, I'm using air quotes, a provocative picture of your child again, you know, without them being able to have a say in it? You know, that maybe at some point your daughter or your son, you know, are going to look back and they're going to see these pictures of themselves on the internet, because once it's there, it's always there. So I that's usually the criticism that I hear about people that post pictures of their kids.
Yeah, and you know, I can kind of understand, but it's also somebody saying to a breastfeeding mom, you shouldn't be posting this. But boobs shouldn't necessarily be sexualized such as they are. It's just the fact that it has been, and we as Americans, that our society, we're looking at boobs and saying, no, you shouldn't be breastfeeding in public, and that's not wrong. It's actually not against the law. They should be able to breastfeed, and people should stop looking at them in that way. We see worse from women in bikinis and scantily dressed than we do with my little, you know, toddler sitting there potty training wearing an apron. What I say to these people is that I don't want them to think of it in that way. First of all, I don't want my children to be ashamed of their bodies. You know, I'm not going to have them go waltzing outside naked, but in the same respect, they shouldn't hide from their siblings, they shouldn't hide from us, and they shouldn't be ashamed simply because they have a body.
Absolutely.
I want them to be more self-confident, because when it comes to teenage years, if they've grown up confident and not hiding themselves, then maybe they won't sexualize the opposite gender. It's not a big deal. It's what I'm hoping.
Lisa,
as teens, I'm kind of hoping that they are looking at it in that respect.
I think, I mean, you bring up so many points in one topic. Like, I think there are so many layers to this, and, you know, the breastfeeding thing, I mean, that's nutrition. I mean, we could talk an hour just about that topic, you know, entirely. The thing is, I also, it was really important for me to reach out to you and bring you on, because I'm one of those people who, I don't like bathtub pictures. I don't like any of those. It's just my personal, like, ooh, I just get this automatic reaction. I take them at home, and I keep them at home, and I love them. And I used to blog, and I don't anymore. But I understand, because first of all, the picture was one of the cutest things I've ever seen. Like, it was adorable.
Thank you.
But at the same time, I was like, oh, you know, I know how people will react, and I know how people, you know, we all think things are locked down and people screen grab. I remember just a couple of years ago, I didn't know how to screen grab, and now you can take anything that belongs to somebody else can be yours, you know, in the click of 3 buttons. And so it does, for me personally, I'm like, oh, I could never, I don't post those things. I don't like those things. I would never report necessarily unless it was like actually questionable, you know. But one thing that we're trying to do with the show is have people on who have different ideas and different thoughts on things, and not sit here and scream at each other. And one thing I was surprised by and a little bit pleased by, and I like that we're starting with you, is that the people, for the most part, the people who disagreed with you were pretty respectful and pretty open and sharing their feelings. There were a few that were certainly opinionated and just needed to let you know how wrong you were. But other people who were just like, hey, have you thought of this? And you were very much like, you know what? Thank you for your opinion. And it was just a really nice discussion and people on two totally different sides of the coin. Unlike a lot of the other stories we're going to talk about today. So, I mean, you know, I'm all for those butt pictures. I don't love them on social media, but that's your prerogative. That's your Facebook page. You should do, you know, Kim comes from a different background with, you know, I don't know if you have an opinion, Kim, with like your,
you know, I don't know. I mean, there are some things that I think I think we're an oversharing society, but
which can be very fun.
But I think Lisa's point, you know, if she's blogging, this is her brand, this is her living, and those are choices that she makes. In my house, that wouldn't fly. Right. I have a picture on my wall of my son when he was like under a year old of his butt, and he's mortified by it. But for me, like, you know, that's him. That's your right. Like, but it's my right in our house. But I, you know, right now, even with him being 12, he makes sure that he approves what I put on Facebook because that's his face, that's his brand, so to speak. And I don't want to make decisions for him at an age. And, you know, there's obviously a big age difference between Lisa's child and mine, but I respect his privacy and you know, I want him to be able to make those choices for himself as to what he puts out into the world and not me make it for him.
Right. And somebody made a great, because we posted this on our Facebook, and we got to move on in a minute, but that the Coppertone baby has been there forever, you know?
Right.
That's it. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to cite that brand and I'm like, is it Johnson & Johnson? Is it Baby Magic? I couldn't remember the brand. Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah. So exactly.
Exactly what I was liking.
So let everybody know where they can find your blog.
My blog is crazyadventuresinparenting.com. It writes itself.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
See, I just, you know, that's one of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time is just, you know, bring up a lot of topics and other people. Like, I don't know what it is in me, and maybe it's just the way I was raised with my body.
Right.
That I'm just, oh, be careful, you know.
Well, you know, what's funny, what Lisa said, though, you know, that she wouldn't let her kids run around naked outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but that's what social media is. Like, it's basically outside.
Right. Right, that's true. That's true.
You know,
and I have, it's funny because, you know, I have a neighbor, I don't even think she listens to this, but, you know, who is potty training her son, and the cutest little butt running around the neighborhood on the cul-de-sac, you know, for a couple days, like while he was training or whatever. And my kids were like, oh, Mom, you know, and they thought it was a little, like, they were well, my 10-year-old was like, what is going on? Right. And I said to, you know, I think she was a little offended that he was so reacting to it, maybe possibly at first. And I said, the fact that what you're doing is totally fine and totally natural, but his reaction is totally not fine and totally natural. Right. As a 10-year-old, it's good. I was glad that he recognized, like,
well, at some point you're supposed to teach your kids modesty, you know, and that's sort of what I was thinking, you know, with this, at some point, you know, there is an age where it's not appropriate, you know, and in my house, you know, and in my life, but other people can do what they want. But I think the purpose of the show, though, is how we react to each other and how not to be an asshat.
How not to be a jackass on social media. So, okay, now let's go to you, back to you. So the other day, you're on Twitter, or actually yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
You're all over. That's crazy. Like, you are being written about everywhere else. And
no, it's so silly. You're making more out of it. So
no, I'm not making more out of it. Like, Google it, girl. Go to Wikipedia.
I engaged in banter, and I've said this before. I'm no stranger to looking at comments and trying to figure out where people are on a certain topic. And I get these Twitter notifications and my name is attached to something because I tweeted that I said, finally it's over in relation to the FX series that was on. And apparently some person.
And if you're just joining us, Kim Goldman, you are the sister of Ron Goldman, who was brutally murdered by OJ Simpson.
Okay.
All right.
Station identification.
And you're listening to BROADScast.
Yes. And I thought that was fine. That's my personal thought. And then somewhere I got a notification that this person was taking me to task on something that I wasn't entirely even sure.
This person on Twitter?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So saying something about racism or ignorant, or I honestly could not understand the purpose of the tweet. So I engaged, like, can you clarify? And then in my head I'm thinking, until I respond, I want to know what the purpose of it. And then somehow it engaged in this whole conversation about racism and ignorance and white people. I don't even know.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, I don't want to engage in this. And then she basically told me to move on and that I can't live my life, whatever it was. And then somebody got in on the conversation and said, can she send mail to the killer in Vegas? And I said, sure. And I posted his inmate number and his address. And apparently that sent people
craziness ensued.
Yeah.
And, I like that you are like, oh, no, nobody's really like it's in Us Weekly, Chicago Tribune, Romper, whatever that is.
But
the Wrap, The Inquisitor.
But it wasn't like me. I didn't even think anything of it. It's public information.
Yeah.
And who cares? And the interesting thing is this.
Well, wait, hold on.
What?
Let's sit on that for a second. You tweeted.
Yeah.
Public information.
Yeah.
You could literally go to...
I saved someone the trip to Google is basically what I did.
You could go to, Wikipedia.
Oh, right.
And get this information.
Yeah, it's not new information.
And the information you are giving it's not like you can go there and riot.
Right.
It's not like you can go there and flip this is literally somewhere you could write letters.
Yeah.
Letters.
Right.
So people are angry at you for giving an address where someone could write a scathing letter.
Yeah. Right.
Can we stop there for a second and recognize the fact that he brutally murdered your brother? Like, I have to say it that because people don't understand.
Right.
And given that series, I don't think they got, and you've mentioned this, and they didn't get the severity of the situation, like how. So you have every right. You literally gave an address for someone to write a letter.
Right?
Do we not see the lack of balance?
No, the hypocrisy for me is the person attacking me on Twitter with the hashtag move on. And then the hashtag my opinion. And I'm like, do you think the hashtag makes your ignorance and your accusations and your jackassery hidden? Like you put a hashtag up and then what does it do? Like, I don't understand this person. And then she called me a bitch this morning. I'm like, what?
Oh, really?
And so the point of this
only
is
I can do that.
This person trolled my Twitter. Right, found me to make negative comments about me and then hid behind a hashtag that says my opinion. I'm like, who does it? As she's telling me that I need to move on.
Just saying,
or telling me to move on.
Right.
As she's finding me to spew hate.
Yeah.
That's
as she's recorded the last 10 weeks of a show.
And that's the hypocrisy of it. And then when someone says, can I send him hate mail? I say, sure, here you go. And then I'm the jerk. She said to me that I'm no worse than he is. And so
You're no worse?
I'm no better. Excuse me. I'm no better than the killer because I put his address out there. Again, highlighting the fact that this person doesn't know me, is accusing me, judging me, making negative comments about me, and I'm the one that's no better than the killer? Like,
right.
Don't you find the irony in that?
Because can we go back to the fact that it's for letters?
Yes, but
when I was growing up, my mother would write letters to when she'd get bad service, she'd like, I'm going to write a letter. Like, right. It's literally words on a paper.
But seriously, the people, what is ironic to me is that as someone is telling me that I'm living my life negatively and I should do better, they're the ones seeking me out to point out how bad I'm living my life, using bad language, negative words, accusations. And that to me is where, this whole being a jackass on social media is so interesting to me, because people, that want to fight a battle are negative and nasty, and it loses something. Like, I was willing to engage in this woman if there was something that was fruitful in the conversation, right. If we wanted to have open dialogue. And then the attack went on, accusing me of the same thing that she's doing. And then I start to laugh. And then I'm thinking, I don't need to engage, because then the rest of Twitter decided to engage on my behalf, which was fantastic. And then I can just sit back and let it go. But right. I don't like that toxicity in my life. Mm-hmm. And, I had somebody else harassing me the other day that wanted me to answer questions that I thought were inappropriate and negative about my family. And they blasted me through Facebook and then saying, I'm thinking, would you ever find somebody online? Right. And harass them and stalk them, and it's so scary to me how vicious people can be when they're just hiding behind a little avatar.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway,
could you imagine walking into a party? I mean, this is something people have been saying and just spewing the feelings and the.
Right. So I don't respond, and then I get accused of not responding. But I don't want to engage.
Right.
Like, you're telling me that I should move on with my life and not be so negative. So I'm opting out of a negative conversation, and then I get accused of being something else.
Right.
So it's, at what point is it just not necessary and not enough? Like, we're all about freedom of speech and being able to share opinions, but at some point, like, it's abusive.
Right.
It's like cyberbullying to the nth degree. And I'm frustrated by it, and then I can laugh at it too, with this particular woman today.
But then it's just amazing to me that it's picked up all over the place, I mean, anyway.
Yeah. Well,
so let's move on to another, and if you're just joining us, you're listening to BROADScast, How Not to Be a Jackass on Social Media.
Well,
with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Yeah, so it folds into, doing something that's purely an innocent comment or picture or tweet, and then having the world blow up in your face. So Hilary Duff posted a picture, and I had to remind myself who Hilary Duff was. I know that's terrible, but Hilary Duff posted.
You're not a child of the 90s.
She posted a picture of herself wearing a pair of shorts, some sneakers, and like a long sweater or something. And she posted, "Hey moms, I'm on my way to school. I found this cute outfit because normally I roll out of bed looking like a disaster.
Right.
Tell me what you wear." Like, it was like I didn't follow her on Instagram. I just saw the article. I'm thinking, whatever.
Right.
And apparently people went
and
off
she had
on
like
her.
little tiny shorts on, but she had a trench coat or whatever. Like whatever. Who cares?
And so people, the trolls are now telling her that she should be focused on her child, not on her clothing. And it's the child's day, not her day. And I was like, oh my God. Hilarious.
Yes, because once you have a child, you no longer exist.
Yeah.
She's trying to unite mothers in that, hey, I'm making a little extra effort. And she's literally said, like, show me yours.
Yeah. She's like self-deprecating that I usually roll out of bed. And
although she says she usually looks like crap or whatever in Lululemon. I'm sure Lululemon wasn't happy with that.
Right. But it's funny because I think that, her, like you said, her purpose was just to unite and to,
just be playful.
Be relevant
and
be playful. And then she got, people went wild on Instagram.
She got slammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, they look like underwear and blah, blah, blah. Like,
I'd be mortified if my mother showed up to school looking like that. I'm like,
and isn't her kid like a preschooler or something? Like, I mean, it's all so ridiculous.
But again, people seeking you out.
Because she's in the public eye. People want to be acknowledged by someone in the public eye because for some strange reason, they feel it gives them significance.
Right, but if you saw her walking down the street, none of these people would like yell to her across the street, you look like a slob, or, what kind of a hooker shorts are you wearing? No one would do that because you just wouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
But the internet provides you with some anonymity and some privacy that you think you have when you post.
But yet they're using their full names and like, it's just, people are just mean.
I know. Well, this is a reminder of how mean our society is. And now with social media, we're just getting to see it, up close and personal. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what these people think across the country.
Right. Or even next door. Mm-hmm. We used to like live in a place where we didn't necessarily know what the people on our block, their political affiliations or their religious,
right.
We just existed among each other and were okay with that,
But would you ever?
In some ways it's great though, because I had a neighbor who we became really, really good friends, mostly because we were Facebook friends.
Right.
And when we got to see each other in passing or for a glass of wine, like we didn't have to discover, we kind of like knew a lot.
Right. But there is this, I'm very mindful of what I put out. Like I actually think things through and with pictures and, comments and tweets. Because I know people have reactions. I mean, we are now creating a society that everybody gets to have an opinion and everybody gets to be an expert on something. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to think through the things that we put on the internet because we are exposing ourselves, sometimes literally, to be subjected to reactions and opinions and thoughts from people, whether they're your friends or strangers. And then we get mad if someone has a reaction that is polar opposite or, negative to something that our intention was. And that's why I said to you, like when I sent you, when we were talking about it earlier, like I'm kind of laughing about my little Twitter thing because I really didn't think anything of it. But I did think about what I was writing because I'm like, okay, how can my tweet not be taken out of context?
Right.
How can my tweet
that's not possible.
But I was thinking about it because
right.
I do know that people pay attention and I think that's important that we always do, but it's just like, think before you speak. That's how I was raised. So I do that anyway, but when someone
I don't
well, yeah, you do and you don't. I mean, I've known you for a long time, but I think that, we're a country that stops paying attention to that. Think before you speak, think before you tweet, think before. And so everybody's just like a one-off, like just going to quickly react, and I'm not going to care about how it hurts or how it impacts somebody else. And I just...
Right. But I think that the media is thrilled that you did this, honestly, because let's be honest, like this sells magazines. This sells your brother and the case and all of this sells. It gets them numbers. And so for you to do this after the show, they're like, yay, something's extending this so we can keep selling, get clicks on our links, and they'll pick up anything. You could poop and like blame him and they'd pick it up.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But This is what I want to ask though, those people who are so angry at you for sharing public, if this were like somebody, Sharon Tate's family, this was like the Charles Manson, if somebody tweeted Charles Manson's public information,
right?
His prisoner number and would they get that much? Do you think it would get that much attention? Do you think people would be so offended that they couldn't let go?
About this morning, like why was I such a target for this? And I've never really understood why people are so angry at me, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, do you troll other victims of violent crime pages and make such nasty comments? Like I wonder that. Like, is it me? Is it because I'm white and he's black? Is that where we're going with this? I mean, is it because I think he's guilty and you don't? Like, is that
right?
I'm so confused. And I have to just stop and think, okay, it's consider the source. But again, I go back to the fact that people are so quick to just spout off and not think about the impact of what they're saying. Like, I see it because it's impossible to not see those notifications. I don't catch all of them because sometimes they get hidden. I don't know how to work Twitter, but it's hurtful. It does stop you for a second. And then I'm like, oh wait, was I offensive? I didn't mean to be like, and then I'm questioning myself. And
yeah,
I'm like, all I did
you
was
should
say,
not.
Finally the show's over. And then and then I responded to something that's public. It's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me giggle sometimes too.
Because I cannot think of one. I'm trying to think of like some really famous cases, like, and if somebody ever shared that prisoner's, information,
but
like the Unabomber or,
right.
Like it wouldn't be like this. And so this is honestly one of the most unique situations, maybe the most unique situations in history of crime, because they're so angry with you, like, but I think that people believe that you are sitting, on your little pedestal with tons of money from his $33 million settlement, and just continue to roll in the money from this. And it couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. No, I mean, it's not. And I because I understand that our case is 20 years of wrapped up emotion. I take it for what it is, but I try not to react, but I really, it just strikes me as a little upsetting, and sometimes, like I said, hilarious when I see what people respond, whether it's me or strangers or, other people that, I look at images on Twitter, on Instagram or other Twitter, and people are just feel very entitled to always tell you what you did wrong, how you should do it better, and how they would do it if they were ever in your shoes. And I just, there's never any dialogue that gets created from that can be helpful. Kind of like what we were saying with Lisa earlier in the show, that some of the people that commented to her were opening up a healthy dialogue about it, which is important.
Right.
But that's not usually the intent when someone spouts off in a negative way. To a picture that they see or a public, figure's movie or whatever it is. It's really just about showing that you're better, that you know more, that you would do it differently, and that the other one's a jackrabbit, and that's the part that I just feel like, when did we get to be that society that we can't have dialogue about things and try to come to peaceful resolutions about stuff that otherwise, rather than just being jerks to each other. so forgetting about my case, just taking it more globally,
right.
That I think that's the part that is so, and then we wonder why our kids are so disrespectful.
Right.
And you see these videos of these kids spouting off to their parents and not, to their teachers in classrooms. And we wonder why our kids are behaving that way, because that's how,
right.
That's
and they're over our shoulder watching us type,
yes.
yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that, I've been trying to do as an adult, for the last year or so, that I've been a lot more mindful, is I'll read something online and remind myself that it is not my job to have to argue everything I don't agree with.
Right.
You can just move on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's such a fascinating concept
right.
of reading something that brings up a visceral reaction in you and not commenting.
Right. And just move along. And that's what there's supposed to be articles and stories and shows and that bring up reactions in you.
Yes.
And that's why we put stuff out there, right?
Yes.
So, but to what degree do we need to let everybody know how much we're, opposite in the thinking, and to how negative and nasty do we need to be? I mean, listen, the positive things are great too. And people always say, well, you don't like it because someone's disagreeing with you. And I'm like, well, sometimes I don't. We get, that we agree to disagree. Like sometimes
right.
I don't need to let the disagreements and the negativity sit on my page or sit on my Twitter. I can delete those.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
And if I'm being one-sided, awesome. I get to choose that. Right.
Right.
But, I think that, the ability now to just type away without even thinking things through is really reckless, and borderline dangerous at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
And it can be over, I mean, in your case, obviously there's a murder behind it. In, Lisa's case, there's a picture of a 4-year-old, Right. And then in this other case that we haven't yet discussed, it's about puppies. People are getting a little crazy about puppies.
Yeah.
All right. So a little backstory. There's an event north of LA.
Right.
The SCV chili cook-off.
Right. And I'm coincidentally judging.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Benefiting some charities in town.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's meant for a good cause.
Right.
It is people, professionals in the Santa Clarita Valley, which is north of LA, which is where our studio is, who are coming together, who are spending a lot of time and money and effort putting together an event to benefit charities in town. Okay. Let's move that aside now. We'll just put that over here. And one of the things that they are doing is auctioning off a puppy, correct?
Yeah.
That puppy, I don't know the background of like how the puppy came to be.
But P.S., a lot of charities do
yes.
this.
And just to put it out there, I'm not a huge fan. I actually disagree with the auctioning off of puppies for a few reasons. Number one, because I went to an auction quite a few years ago and ended up with a trip to Hawaii because I was drinking. So I can imagine that adorable puppy. After a couple of drinks, how many people will like pay crazy amounts of money and bring it home?
That's the purpose of the event.
I know. And when you have a trip, but when you have a trip to Hawaii the next day, that's one thing.
Did you ever see that Friends episode when Joey went to the regatta gala?
Oh my God, he got the boat.
He didn't understand how the auction worked.
Yes. So, when you wake up the next day with a trip to Hawaii, you still have a trip to Hawaii to look forward to, even though you have no money in your bank account.
Right.
When you wake up the next day with a puppy, you've just committed to a whole bunch of years.
Okay, but that's you. That wouldn't happen to me. So let's move. But go on.
What do you mean it wouldn't happen? No, I think it's not just me. It's a lot of people, and I don't necessarily. That's not
the charity's fault that you ended up drunk with a puppy.
But you know that it's going to happen.
If it's not a puppy, it's a trip to Hawaii, or it's a basket of popcorn.
I'm just putting it out there that I don't agree with it.
Okay.
So, but the other thing too, Kim, is that I'm a huge adopt the dog. There's so many out there. If you did the same thing with a rescue dog, I'd be thrilled.
Right.
But anyway, so that's that. So they put this up there, and then the rescue groups around, not even just in the same area, but all around, have caught wind of this.
Right.
But like you said, a lot of charities do this.
Right.
I know I went to a school charity recently that they did this.
Right.
Didn't agree with it, but I still I actually held my paddle up just to bring the money up even higher because I knew a person was going to go wherever she had to go to get that dog. So anyway, they post about this, the rescue groups. Some people reached out in a very strong yet respectful way. Yeah, you go.
No, just that people were upset because they think that you're just giving a puppy away and that you're bypassing the screening process and all of the legalities in terms of when you adopt a dog. Like that was why people were upset. That they thought so. Having running a charity, I've looked into putting a puppy up for adoption because it is a big money maker. For auction. Oh, same thing. It is the same thing. It is because.
But go ahead.
It is because you do have to follow certain procedures. You don't just get to pick a dog off the street and put him on the stage and auction him off. You do have to follow a particular screening process, and you are required by law to do that. And so, why these organizations are coming after this charity for doing this is ridiculous because there are laws that mandate how you are to put a animal up for auction/adoption.
Okay.
So I take issue with it because if you're doing it right, there's no problem. It's really no different than when you go to the adoption place to buy a dog. It's the same thing. Money isn't going to charity. It's going to the rescue place. It's the same thing. You still have to go through a screening process. You're just not competing with somebody else for that animal. So why is it so bad? I don't get it.
Well, the dog, some of the complaints were that the dog's so young, the dog hasn't had his shots, the dog hasn't had, all those things. But you can argue both sides. That's totally not even the case here. I mean, That's not the point here. The point is people who are, allegedly involved with these rescue groups came out and they got threatening. Like this one guy, I very highly suggest now that you are on the rescue radar for your auction that you cancel it. You will be shared, reshared, and reshared until you are all over social media. I won't tell you how I feel on a moral level. You are about to be viral. I suggest you back down now while there is still time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like...
Well, they said if you go through with the event, you will be sorry. Right?
Yeah.
We should shut the event down. They're gonna riot. Right, they're gonna come to the event, and the interesting thing about it is that these people are trying to save the puppy, right, while they're threatening, the people. Like,
this one woman on Facebook in a post about it, published the woman's phone number, the chairperson of the event.
Yeah,
she published her cell phone number so people could call to complain. Like, it's just so scary.
Right.
At what people are doing. I mean...
Well, listen, I published well, I guess my stuff was public. Never mind.
Her cell phone number is not public. Yeah.
Right.
And she's having an auction. She didn't kill somebody.
Right.
I mean, that's also like...
Well, but the fact that, these people, without having all of the information or asking the questions, like, it would have been just as fine, if the person who are making these threats would say, tell me the policy, tell me the procedure, and then let me make an educated argument based on the information. This person just hears there's an auction and then they spout off and they're threatening and they're accusatory without having all the information. And I think that if they would have known the steps that this organization has taken to make sure they're doing it right, this person may not have had such a ridiculous and erratic and
I mean, the organization says they have a screening process in place. A dog will not go home with the bidder the night of the auction. Right. This is no different from the adoption process at shelters.
Oh, look at that. I didn't even read that.
See that? But I will say, I mean, we went to we went to Best Friends Animal Shelter or Animal Best Friends in Mission Hills, California, right? Okay. To find our second of 3 dogs. And we filled out like a little paper that was like, how many dogs do you have? Do you have a fence? Blah, blah, blah. Right. Nobody came and checked our house. Nobody. These are dogs that were.
I had to show pictures of my fence, the space between my fence to make sure they couldn't get out, how tall it was. Different places require very different.
Yes, they do. Yeah. But this particular one, very, very well respected. We brought our dog number 1 to the place just to make sure that she and the other dog got along well. Yeah. But they didn't. It wasn't like they came and did that. Like some rescue groups do that.
I think they should do that for parents that are about to have babies.
Well,
they should do a screening process.
Parents
could people just have babies right and left with no screening process.
Coming from a woman who is adopted, that there is that screening if you adopt another person's child, but not if you have your own. Yeah. Right. They always say you have to have a license to drive a car, but not a license to have a kid.
Yeah.
But or if you go to the shelter, which is where we got dog number 1, like we just put our name down and then they're like, hey, do you have a fence?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yes, I think if you're auctioning off a puppy and there's alcohol and all that involved, like I think that you should have a responsible. But the point is, while I'm not a huge fan of it, you still don't get have the right to be a jackass and threaten.
Right.
That's what I'll never understand. People who are trying to protect one group of people or living things by
like
threatening another.
The radical groups that blow up abortion clinics.
Yes.
Like, it's the same concept. I mean, you're trying to protect one class by violating or being violent towards another class.
Right.
And, again, it
wow,
goes back to,
we went into something heavy here.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think people react without knowing the full story. People react without thinking of the outcome of their comments or their actions, because we're so quick to just react and to tell someone that they're doing it wrong and that you're doing it better. And here's a perfect example of this person or these people that are attacking, what is a very innocent and charitable mentality, regardless of whether you agree with it. Just don't go. Right. Don't bid on the dog.
Right.
Or make sure, in an effort to be educating people, that they're following the correct procedures.
Yes.
Wow, how is that so hard?
Yeah.
So instead, they've got to be threatening and
I agree.
warning. Like, because now we're all laughing at it. The point is gone. I mean, I don't know that this organization is laughing at it, but I think that the point has been missed. And that I think that you stop listening to people at some point when they start to be jackass.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, but we only have about a minute and a half left. Do you have any tips for people to not be a jackass on social media, Kim Goldman?
No, I don't have any tips. I think because I think if you're on the receiving end of it, the tip is consider the source. And you know what, if my usual reaction to people when they come at me is like, you know what, my integrity is in check. I feel good about the way I live my life, and move along. Like, and I have to just consider the source, and I have to consider where people are coming from. And I have to just make sure that I'm living my life in a way that makes me feel empowered and important and inspirational, and that I can look at myself in the mirror, and that's it. I don't need to answer to anybody else. But again, if I'm going to put myself out there, I have to be prepared in some way to be on the receiving end of bad, but also wonderful.
Right. Have you ever seen that meme? And we'll have to post it on our Facebook page. But before you speak, think. And it's THINK. T, is it true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind?
Right.
That's what I try. I need to print that, because that's what I'm trying to do, because it may not be any of those, but necessary. Is it necessary? Right. Can you go without having to express every single opinion?
Right.
So,
well, that's what we try to evoke with the teens that I work with, because everything is, out into their brain, out through their
like you say, for me, in one ear, out to Twitter. So anyway, that's it for today. We will
to BROADScast.
Yes, and
Jackie McDougall and Kim Goldman. Thanks, you guys.
We'll see you next week.
You're listening to BROADScast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. Two broads with faces made for radio.